Richard Miller, and grew up in Butte, Montana, and I wasn't big enough at the age of 8 to play baseball with the big boys, so they let me shag balls. So I became the ball shagger, and they was Shag. I remember it was a Philco, it was round like this, and I remember listening to Amos and Andy, and Lone Ranger, and The Shadow, and many, many others. Well, my first real job is I started at the top. I was an owner. A good customer of ours owned a supermarket, and he also owned a radio station, namely KBOW Butte. We filed for the application and got it, went into business in 1962. And I say with pride, the station was billing $2,900 a month. At the time, it had not made a nickel for two years. I got it to $6,800 the first month, and $10,000, and then went there. Then 2 years later, worked out an arrangement with George Hatch, who owned KOPR Radio, and he was out of Salt Lake, he owned it in Butte. We bought it, merged the two together, and then put an FM station on in 1972, and that's how the operation is going today, and I owned it up until 1994 when I sold it. The first thing I learned about was radio was from an engineer who would explain to me about watts and this sort of thing. And finally, after an hour conversation, they'd say, check, how much is it? We'd say about $1,500. That was where I started to learn the radio business. We were fortunate to be one of the leaders in talk radio. We had a party line show. It is the longest running talk show in the Intermountain West, still going. At the time television came in, they thought that radio would be on the way out. And radio went from a program radio to a local medium. And that's where the strength is, still is today. The main lesson I learned is the position that radio plays in the local scene. It's a vibrant mission. The local people know it's local. The national people don't know it's local. Local people know it's local. You are a figure of importance in the medium, in the community. That's why I was able to be fortunate enough to, and it wasn't as a programmer, it wasn't as a newsman, I didn't have a good radio voice. I had knowledge about sports, but I wasn't the world's greatest play-by-play man. I happened to be at times the only play-by-play man, and that's one of the benefits of ownership you have in a small station. They have to be able to do all things. And of course, the key I had, I was a salesman, was, then, still am. And I'll ask Jesus Christ for an order in case he shows up.